Me and Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep.
Tupac, he really had an issue with Jay-Z. He really didn't like him then.
Not at all. That if Pac was alive, then it would have been a whole different story. And as much money as Jay-Z has, he still hasn't accomplished what Tupac accomplished before he was at 25 years old.
Big Daddy Kane just dropped a bomb about Jay-Z and Tupac, and no one saw this twist coming. The version of the story we've all heard, yeah, it's not the full truth. Everybody knows Kane gave Jay-Z his shot. No debate there. He had Jay freestyling on stage, rolling with his crew, building that early buzz. Kane was the one opening doors. But as Jay rose to the top, Kane's name slowly faded from the spotlight. Like he never even existed in Jay's come-up story. But here's where it gets even messier. Kane's latest comments don't just touch on Jay, they circle back to Tupac too. While Kane was co-signing Jay in the East, Pac was doing the opposite, calling out the fake ones in the game, sending warning shots, and yes, shading Jay by name. So what's Kane really getting at? Is he saying Jay-Z didn't just get inspired by him and Pac, but actually built his whole empire off their backs? Did Jay step right over both of them without ever looking back? This might change how people see the entire legacy. Let's break it all down.
Hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
Back in the early 90s, when Jay-Z was just another hungry MC trying to get noticed, Big Daddy Kane came through in a major way. During his Chocolate City tour, Kane brought Jay along and let him rock freestyles on stage while he switched outfits. Talk about a spotlight moment. But Kane didn't stop there. He recorded tracks with Jay and started pushing his demo to big labels, trying to get him signed. Still, according to Kane, it wasn't smooth at all. Labels were straight up rejecting Jay. They just weren't feeling his style, Kane admitted.
Z, I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you were shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, Jay, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
Even after all those labels passed on Jay, Big Daddy Kane still believed in him. He knew Jay would find his lane eventually, and he was right. But here's where the story starts getting murky. Kane's influence on Jay's early style, fast, smooth, but with a sharp edge, is crystal clear. Still, when Jay-Z started speaking out in interviews, documentaries, and even in his book Decoded, Kane's name barely got a mention. Jay gives a quick shout, saying he picked up pacing and stage game from Kane, but that's it. No deep props, no real flowers, just a one-liner. And Kane? Yeah, he definitely noticed the silence. It gets even more interesting with the rumors around Jay's line and Do It Again. I've seen the same ish happen to Kane. 3 cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out. Anyone who knows Kane knows he rocked those 3 eyebrow slashes. It was his thing. That line, it sounded way too slick to be random. People started whispering that Jay was sneak dissing Kane. Jay never confirmed it, but the shade felt real. Big Daddy Kane's 3 eyebrow slits weren't just a look, they were iconic. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, it was part of his whole brand. But by the time the late 90s rolled around, Kane's spotlight had dimmed and the new wave of rappers was taking over. So when Jay, who once looked up to Kane and was mentored by him, dropped that cold line and Do It Again, some folks took it as straight up mockery. Even Angie Martinez reportedly commented on her radio show that it sounded like a diss, and that only stirred up more whispers in the streets. Kane later downplayed it publicly, but the rumors never fully died out. And here's where it gets deeper. Jay once admitted he watched Kane closely backstage, learning every move. But once Jay switched gears into that gangster hustler image, Kane quietly stepped aside, giving him space to build his own lane. Now, all these years later, Kane can't help but wonder, did Jay purposely erase him from the story? Did he get pushed out on purpose? That silence is starting to speak louder than words.
I remember actually having a record deal through a production deal with someone else and recording, and then the next thing you know, someone else on the label blew up.
But Kane wasn't the only one feeling the shift. He wasn't out there alone. Right around the same time Kane was stepping back, Tupac was stepping up, and he was already putting the industry on blast. Pac saw the game changing right in front of him. The focus was moving away from raw talent and real message and shifting toward image, money, and control. And guess whose name started popping up in that conversation? Jay-Z. Back in those days, the streets were buzzing with rumors that Jay-Z felt threatened by Pac. People said Jay knew, deep down, that he couldn't match Pac's natural star power. Jay was slick with the bars, no doubt. But Pac, he had that presence, raw, emotional, magnetic, the kind of energy that couldn't be taught, and eventually, it boiled over into something real. Jay and Pac had actual beef right before Pac's death, something a lot of people forget. It all started when Jay teamed up with Biggie to throw shade at the West Coast. Jay and Big, both from Bed-Stuy, had started moving tight in the early 90s. And in 96, they dropped Brooklyn's Finest on Jay's Reasonable Doubt. That collab, it set it all off. Irv Gotti, who was in Jay's corner back then, later said he warned Jay not to feature Big on that track. The East Coast-West Coast beef was already explosive. Irv knew that stirring the pot with that move could blow up in their faces quick, but Jay did it anyway.
You gotta go back to Brooklyn's Finest. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, he's too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack.
Pac and Biggie actually started off on good terms. But everything changed in '94 when Pac got shot 5 times during a robbery at Quad Studios. After that, things got real ugly. Pac was convinced that Biggie and Diddy knew something about the setup, but stayed silent. That felt like betrayal, and Pac never let it go. Biggie, though, he always denied knowing anything about it. Said he had no clue what was coming.
Yeah, I think Pac was more upset that word was getting back to him, that the people that did do this to him was affiliated one way or another with Biggie, and whether they was extorting him or word got back that they was going to do this to Pac. So this is one of the reasons that Pac was upset.
After the Quad Studio shooting, things went from bad to straight up hostile between Pac and Biggie. They started firing off shots at each other in public. Biggie dropped Who Shot Ya, which Pac took as a direct hit, even though Big never said his name. By that point, East Coast versus West Coast tension was already out of control. That's exactly why Irv Gotti told Jay to chill on dropping Brooklyn's Finest with Big. But Jay didn't listen. He dropped it anyway, and it only turned the heat up even more. Biggie's verse threw clear shots at Pac, calling him his son and throwing slick shade about the rumors between Pac and Faith Evans. That stirred the pot big time.
And then what Big did, which I was like, that's why Pac was on Jay, because of Brooklyn's Finest. If they have twins, you probably have 2 Pacs. Get it? 2 Pacs. And Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you, ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start bombing on Jay.
After all that, Pac turned his attention straight toward Jay-Z, dropping bars aimed at him on tracks like Bomb First, My Second Reply, and Fuck Friends. The shots were loud and clear. Fans were waiting on Jay to fire back with a full-on diss track. But that response never hit the streets. Just weeks later, Pac was tragically gunned down in a drive-by in Las Vegas. But here's the wild part. Jay did write a diss track aimed right at Pac. It was called Scathing, and according to folks who heard about it, it was brutal. Jay never dropped it publicly, supposedly because he didn't want to add more fuel to the fire while Pac was still alive. Most fans have never even heard of it. But after Pac's death, Jay switched it up. He performed Scathing live at the Apollo. DJ Clark Kent was there, and later revealed the track was crazy disrespectful. Jay went in like he had something to prove, like he'd been holding it in too long and had to finally let it fly. That performance left people shook. But why would Jay perform that diss track after Pac was already gone? Well, word on the street is that Jay actually felt a sense of relief when Pac died. A lot of folks say he was low-key intimidated by Pac, like he knew he could never match that level of presence or legacy. And it gets deeper. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, once claimed Jay was so nervous around Pac that he stayed locked in his hotel room in Vegas, skipped the whole show, just because Pac and his crew were in the city. That fear was real, according to insiders.
The story is that Jay was going to try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas, and him and his dudes now, and they wasn't going to let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at, and Jay wasn't going to come out the hotel. He was going to miss that performance or whatever like that, do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel.
A lot of fans have called Jay-Z sneaky for never clapping back at Pac directly while he was alive. But the truth, Jay and his East Coast circle were out here throwing slick subliminals, trying to bait Pac into reacting. They knew he was emotional and would snap back hard, and that's exactly what they wanted. Rappers who were around back then say Jay was seriously jealous of Pac's presence. No matter how sharp Jay's bars were, he knew he couldn't touch that natural charisma Pac had. Pac just had it. Even Nas later hinted that Jay held some deep resentment about Pac and Biggie's success. According to Nas, Jay once told him flat out that he was a better rapper than both of them. Nas told Vibe, "We were kicking it, and he told me that he's better than Biggie. I looked at him like he was crazy. Then he really got crazy and said that Tupac and DMX were not lyricists. I told him that I disagreed with him, that Tupac was the greatest ever, period." But that's not even the only reason fans have called Jay a snake over the years. There's also the fact that Jay stayed tight with Diddy, even after those dark rumors started linking Diddy to Pac's murder. And once both Pac and Biggie were gone, Diddy started hyping Jay up, saying he was the one stepping into their shoes. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Oh, you filled them shoes, though. You came in and you know what I'm saying? So we definitely give thanks for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you definitely, came in. And I just know how much Big, like really looked up to Jay. You know what I'm saying? They looked up to each other. And yeah, that is crazy to have to step into the shoes of like two people. Because that's all it was, really, was those two.
And even with all the shady rumors that followed Diddy for years, Jay stayed right by his side until that explosive 2023 Cassie lawsuit hit the fan. After that, suddenly Jay caught a case of selective memory, claiming he and Diddy were never even tight. Like, seriously? So, what's the real takeaway from all this? Big Daddy Kane throwing out hints of betrayal and silence. Tupac warning the world about snakes in the game, and Jay-Z making some seriously calculated moves behind the curtain. At the end of the day, it's looking like Jay didn't just borrow flows, he stepped right over the people who helped him rise. He built an empire, no doubt, but now more and more folks in the industry are starting to speak up, saying Jay's legacy might be just as much about betrayal as it is about talent. So what do you think? Was Jay-Z just doing what it takes to win in this cutthroat game? Or did he cross a line and turn his back on those who lifted him up? Did he play it smart or play dirty? And what about the whole Pac situation? Do you think Jay was really jealous of him? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your crew, and I'll catch you in the next one.